Hi and welcome to Geopolitics 401. This is an episode about countries that I don't know if they want to get to war or they are just trying to test the muscle of each other, like who is more powerful than the other. But Algeria has blocked flights from Mali after it shot one of its drones, and the two countries have decided, you know what, we are not allowing the movement in our airspaces across. So Algeria has closed its airspace to all flights to and from Mali. And this is after a Mali drone was shot down close to their common border by the Algerian authorities. And now there's a row that seems to be escalating. So Algeria's defense minister in a statement said, due to the repeated violations of our airspace by Mali, the Algerian government has decided to close it to air traffic coming from or to Mali, effective Monday the 7th. So last week, what happened? Actually, Algeria acknowledged that it had shot down an armed reconnaissance drone close to the city called Tinzaoutin, I hope that's how they pronounce it, saying that this city is actually the border town between the two nations, and they had said that it had penetrated the airspace at over a distance of 2 kilometers before it went back to the country. So, of course, if you're in this country and you see a drone that crosses over to your nation, it means there's surveillance going on. And of course, by the time they're going back, whatever they wanted to take information, they must have taken. But we cannot confirm the way forward. But the junta leader, Assimi Goïta of Mali, of course in Bamako, denied that the drone had violated Algeria's airspace and said that the aircraft's wreckage was found 9.5 kilometers inside its borders. So the argument here is Mali says this our drone did not cross over to Algiers by any chance. To Algeria. But now Algeria says before that drone went back to the 9.5 kilometers that they are alleging it fell, it had crossed to their nation 2 kilometers in. So this is what is causing all these troubles. So when he gave more details on Monday, the Algeria said that the aircraft had entered its airspace, then exited before returning on an attack trajectory. Mali, on the other hand, accused its northern neighbor of being a sponsor and exporter of terrorism after the Algerian drone attack. So, of course, these two nations have been fighting over, there's an illegal gang that operates between, and especially that causes trouble to Mali, and Mali accuses Algeria of supporting this terror group. So, of course, Mali feels Mali probably was surveying this just to see what was going on at the border town and if there were any activities by the terror group. But of course, Algeria decided, you know what, you are not coming to our land to survey us and check what we are doing, and so they brought the drone down. Mali's foreign ministry challenged Algeria's earlier explanation that the unmanned surveillance aircraft had violated its airspace, and they describing the downing of drone as a hostile premeditated action. Algeria described the allegations as lacking in seriousness and they warrant no attention or response. So I find it unfortunate when African nations really want to fight each other instead of us cooperating and working for the betterment of Africa. These are neighbors. Imagine if you're fighting your neighbor, yet these are supposed to be the people you use to, hold each other up when need be, trade, build a strong force in terms of security against any external threats. But no, these nations are just fighting each other, which I feel is very unfortunate. So Mali's armed forces are fighting, the ethnic group is called Tuareg. They are separatists, of course. They're in the north, which is in that Tinzaoutin town. And this is what is the neighbor town between these two nations. So the shooting down of the drone raised a diplomatic row, and tensions are really high. And as a result, Mali, along with its allies, that is Niger and Burkina Faso, recalled their ambassadors from Algiers. Remember, these three nations, carried out a coup almost at the same period. Like within a year, the three nations had done their coups and the juntas took over power. So the three nations have recalled their ambassadors from Algiers. And last year, the three, of course, junta-led countries formed a regional bloc called the Alliance of Sahel Nations, which, of course, by the French acronym is AES. So in their joint statement, the three nations decided to offer a joint statement since they all withdrew their ambassadors. They condemned Algeria and said that the shooting down of a drone prevents the neutralization of a terrorist group that was planning terrorist acts against the AES, or the Alliance of Sahel Nations. So these three nations have come together and decided we will not allow, these groups, it's called the Tuareg. We will not allow them because it's a terror group that has been causing trouble in the three nations. And of course, I think Mali is more affected, but of course they work because they have an alliance, meaning they worked with each other a lot. They're against that whole idea, and that's why they withdrew the ambassadors. Mali has also summoned the Algerian ambassador in Bamako over the incident and declared that it would file a complaint with international bodies. And of course, they also withdrew from the regional security group that includes Algeria. So basically, they're trying to say, Algeria, we're not taking any of these things. We will not allow this to happen. We have been troubled by these terror groups, and we will not continue to allow this to happen. So in response, on Monday, Algeria said it noted the Malian and AES statements, that's the Alliance of Sahel Nations statements, with deep dismay, describing Mali's allegations as an attempt to divert attention away from its own failures. I mean, I believe Mali, of course, has its failures, but I think the nations should come together and speak to find a common ground and agreement. And of course, if it's terror groups, it's best if every nation says no to terror, because essentially, terror does not benefit any of those African nations. If anything, they are sponsored by the West. So they are doing things sponsored by the West, but the Africans who keep suffering. So I think Algeria needs to come to terms with that. So Algeria also said that this was the third violation of its airspace in recent months, but Mali has often accused Algeria of giving shelter to the Tuareg armed groups. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think Algeria needs to just rethink how they're working this. I mean, if you've been accused of supporting a terror group, there must be suspicions. The suspicions are never in vain. And if you look at it again, why are we benefiting the West? Because bottom line, it's the West that sponsors these groups, because Africa, one, does not manufacture guns. So who benefits from this war? I mean, wars started by people who want to benefit, and I don't think Algeria is actually benefiting in any of this. So, of course, Algeria once, this is in terms of memory, Algeria once served as a key mediator during the more than a decade conflict between Mali and the separatists group, and that is the Tuareg groups. And their relations have soured since the 2020 coup, after military, of course, took over, because military leadership came with different terms and conditions. So that has not been, the relationship since, for the last 5 years, has been quite shaky. So the two countries have grown apart, of course, since the military junta staged the coup, and in 2020 and 2021. And this has putting with military personnel in charge in key institutions. Then, of course, now Algeria looks at this as not a legal government. So they really don't want to engage them, because they don't look at them as a legitimate government. So that's one of the key problems. Algeria recently deployed troops along its borders to prevent the infiltration of militants and weapons from jihadist groups who operate in Mali and other countries in West Africa's Sahel region. So I mean, these countries have had a history and continue to suffer from a lot of terror groups, and they operate, like, each country has a different terror group. So of course, every nation, again, even Algeria on one hand, does not want any of these groups, probably in Mali, Niger, to cross over to their country. So they deployed troops. So all the three Sahel nations have cut ties with France in 2024, if you remember, and they instead building partnerships with new found ally, that is Russia. And maybe this is what they feel is working for them, because from the feedback we're getting, especially from Burkina Faso and Niger, those countries are, growing for the better. So people are now questioning, is junta leadership better than democratically elected leaders across Africa? That's a question only Africans will sit and decide for themselves. But of course, from where I sit, democracy is always a better option for anyone. Algeria has denounced the direction that Mali's new government has taken and its expanded efforts to quash rebellion in historically volatile parts of northern Mali. And these countries, we can only watch and see, but we hope for the best. We pray that they are able to find a common ground and talk, but not just talk, but talk for the better. Talk for a better Africa. Talk for a better Sahel region, talk for the larger region, and just leaders working for a common good of Africa. That's the only way Africa will compete across other continents, or else we'll keep fighting and, of course, continue to be the poorest, yet the richest in terms of resources. So I think it's time African leadership rethinks the need for war, if need be. Just analyze who benefits from this war and maybe stop it, because when you do an analysis and see the value that it has on us is minimal, then it will be time to stop it for the better of our continent. Thank you for watching. We're still watching, continue monitoring the situation between Algeria and Mali, and you can share with us in the comments section what you think and maybe what happens next. We'll see you on the next episode.